It's the location. You're really close to the courthouse metro, but you've got to think of logistics. You've got to walk up the hill to the metro. Most people don't want that location, and it's facing Route 50. So no one wants to face Route 50 whenever you're buying. So those properties are going to be harder to sell.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show, Shawn. In today's episode, we're going local. We're going to stay in the DMV, Arlington, Alexandria, Northern Virginia, DC area for this episode. This is like our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And it's always been a thought of like, should we just wind down and just focus local? Or should we get the internet points and go more mainstream?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. But the thing is, today there were so many articles. Usually there's very few articles about our local area that are meaty, that have something to talk about. But today we got some talk.
Lots of articles, some developer issues, this house in North Arlington that we have to discuss. TJ Oshie finally sold his home. There's quite the property for sale in Southwest DC. Shawn, let's start in Old Town Alexandria. This comes to us from ALX now. Alexandria real estate developer files bankruptcy, faces federal takeover of properties. So the sale of two large Alexandria properties could settle millions owed to the government by real estate developer and former Connection newspaper CEO Peter Labovitz. So, Shawn, essentially, this guy Labovitz, he owes the U.S. more than $3 million in unpaid federal taxes. He's a developer. He owns Kings Row Development, 1604 to 1610 King Street. And he also owns, I didn't know this, the largest house in Old Town Alexandria, the largest house in Old Town, 510 Wolf Street, which is currently on the market and under contract for...
that was a 9 or 10
higher.
million.
8.5 million is what it's listed for. They had originally priced at around what Shawn I think just said, of 10.8, and they're under contract for 8.5. This is a house that has 7 beds, 8 baths, over 10,000 square feet, right smack dab in the middle of Old Town Alexandria. And it looks like Mr. Labovitz, dating back to 2011, this guy's failing to pay the IRS $940,000. This guy looks like he owes some money. So I don't know how much proceeds he's going to be receiving from this $8.5 million sale. Maybe there's going to be a line item from the title company that says IRS. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is the thing. This is the warning to everybody that's self-employed out there. File your taxes, file them correct. Get an accountant, have them do it correctly, and pay your taxes. It's very easy to get caught up in the money and spend the money because you're like, oh, I just got a big paycheck. And that's the same thing this builder was doing is like, hey, I have expenses. I want to build this property. I want to do this. So he's failing to do what he needs to do on the IRS forms and pay his taxes, and he's putting it into his builds, putting it into his lavish, humongous home that he doesn't need. But, that's his prerogative. And now he has to sell everything. It's just like, the other thing is he owns the Connection newspaper. The Connection was a big newspaper back in the day. It was a big local newspaper, I should say. Mm-hmm. And it's just so strange that it happens, and it can happen to anybody, and you just never know who's going through what. And that's the risk of these developers. You get caught up in, all right, this is what it's going to cost. It's a risky move in any of these developments. It doesn't matter the time of year, the year, whatever, the area. It's all risky because even though you're doing it in Old Town Alexandria and properties should sell and they sell for a very high price per square foot, you know what? You also got to buy it for a high price per square foot. How's he buying it? Well, he's not paying the IRS, And so this is the thing that you can get caught up in very easily. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. There's no way. And thankfully, I've prepaid my taxes already for this year. So I'm ahead of the game, which is very hard to do and get into that mode of things. But now that I'm there, I'm like, all right, I'm going to continue to do so. So my warning to all real estate agents, self-employed people, pay your taxes, man, because this is what happens. And your house could be taken, your business can be taken. The IRS doesn't play, and when they're after you, and they're going to make you sell those properties. And that's unfortunately what is going on, going under right now. And I feel bad for them. You feel bad for anybody in this situation. Yeah, sometimes you get caught up and one thing leads to another and you're like, wow, I could use this to pay off this. I could use this instead of paying the government. maybe I can lie on these forms. Maybe I can get away with this. But you know what? The government's always they're going to catch up.
It's just another reminder that no matter what the real estate market is, good or bad, people are always going to go bankrupt. And it usually doesn't start with making egregious, quote unquote, air quote, mistakes or, allegedly fraudulent activity. It usually starts with innocuous, moving the decimal point here, rounding up there, and then it kind of just snowballs. And no matter what sort of real estate market we're in, developers are going to go bankrupt. It's just the way life goes. Developers make good deals. Developers make bad deals. When we go to moving over to Alexandria, Arlington, this next article comes to us from Biz Now. Developer abandons Arlington hotel conversion plan, looks to sell. So this is in like a little bit of a different category than this last developer article. Sunburst Hospitality Group is giving up on a courthouse hotel-to-condo conversion that it's been planning for more than 5 years. Let's see. The company in 2019 applied to convert a 187-room Arlington Court Suites Hotel into 180 units. They got approval in October 2020, but never got the project underway. They are now looking to sell the property that they've owned since 2006. So, Shawn, this strikes me as, all right, what happened in 2020, right? So any sort of conversion project is going to be difficult. It's going to be especially difficult during a lockdown. And then we come out of it, you have this narrow window of, cheap money, right? And now that's gone out the window. And there have been a lot of, projects in Arlington, in Rosslyn, in Courthouse that have been on hold. And now they're kind of just throwing their hands up. It seems like this is a cash flowing property. At least that's how they're marketing it. It's just they don't want to undergo the conversion to the condo, which is a pretty lengthy process and a pretty arduous process. They would rather serve that up on a silver platter to the next developer who will either buy this and continue to run it as the Clarion Hotel, part of Choice Hotels, or use the approved plans to start the process of converting it to condos. What are your thoughts?
This is such a hard thing to do. No matter where you are, a conversion from a hotel or a conversion property in essence of any type is tough to do because you've got floor plans that are already set. Are you taking down those walls? Are you combining things? And so you've got bathrooms. And imagine a hotel. You're walking into a hotel and most of those are going to be studios, right? It's just a room with a bathroom. That's all it is.
I'm taking it down to the studs.
Yeah.
When I see hotel conversion, I think they're not going to tear down the building. They're just going to rip everything away and then start anew.
I would hope so. And that's very costly to do. I mean, is it easier just to build it from the ground up, or is it, more cost effective to tear down and redo and reconfigure? You think about like the bedroom. All right, you got 2 studios next to them with 2 bed. Like, where's your living space? It's just so difficult, and you've got to rearrange all the plumbing and everything else. Not only that, when you're looking at that location, it's 1200 North Courthouse Road. So you're right next to like Woodbury Heights, which is 1301 North Courthouse Road. And that is in Parkett Courthouse. Parkett Courthouse is just over next to this property. If you look at the values in those 2 buildings, they're not getting a humongous price per square foot. It's the location. You're really close to the courthouse metro, but you've got to think of logistics. You've got to walk up the hill to the metro. Most people don't want that location, and it's facing Route 50. So no one wants to face Route 50 whenever you're buying. So those properties are going to be harder to sell no matter what. And so this is the thing is, when you're buying a property like this, you have to look at the nuances of where these properties are facing and what does that location do compared to something else in Courthouse or Clarendon. They're not going to get the values. And we saw somebody try to do this across Route 50, directly across from this. You remember that project? They tried to sell condos over there. And I was like, man, they're trying way too high. Once you cross Route 50, the price per square foot drops significantly. And they're trying to get, price per square foot that's on the other side. And it just isn't going to.
So that project, I think, started as condos, then eventually went apartments.
I think so, yeah.
To Avery Row Apartments.
Yeah.
1200 North Courthouse, this hotel to condo. It's not a location that gets me excited.
Not at all.
It's not a location that buyers circle with a red Sharpie on the old map and put on their refrigerator door. People don't get excited about this location. So it seems like, this was probably a really good investment. They acquired the property in 2006, completed an $18 million redevelopment in 2007. It seems like they also completed the Vista on Courthouse, which are apartments and townhouses. They did that in 2008, sold in 2010. And I don't know the financials of this at all, but it seems like the developer probably did okay to hold on to the property this long and now it's time to move on.
Yeah, and so I didn't know that they did the Vista Courthouse, which is right there. So it's Park at Courthouse, Vista Courthouse, that property, and then Woodbury Heights. The Vista Courthouse is one of those locations that you'll see that these townhouses, they're just not going to get, they're awkward. You know, there's some awkward things about them. And, you know, the main thing that I have when I would show those, I haven't shown them in a while, but was the awkwardness of the spaces because they were conversions, right? They were those 2-level townhouses that are just squares.
Well, there was another hotel-to-condo conversion recently in Virginia Square, ARC 3409.
Yeah.
Now, they have, ARC 3409 has some awkward floor plans. I don't know if that was just due to the way it was laid out or if, like, the hotel component added to the awkwardness.
Yeah, you're right. It was very awkward. And some of those, now the ARC 3409 properties, they're tough to sell. You know, they have weird floor plans. Some of them have no living space. That's what I'm talking about with the conversion like this, is that you've got a studio. Where's your living space? You're sleeping in your living space. So it's going to be awkward, and you have to redo everything, and that's a costly thing to do. But, you know, there are 2 floor plans over in ARC 3409, one that has no living space, and if you look at it, I think it's an 11, because we tried to sell one. It was really difficult. It has 0 living space. It's like a hallway that you're trying to watch TV in. And those are always going to hurt. And if you look at like trying to sell another one compared to that one, you're going to see a really low value on some of them where the other ones get a much higher value, and it's because of the living room.
So there's an 11 on the market right now, 211. It's been on the market for 195 days, which is extremely uncommon along the RB corridor, especially for, you know, a quote unquote newer building. Sure, if it's like Tower Villas or something that needs some work, but the couch pretty much is looking into the bathroom. And then you kind of have this TV, like I'll throw up a picture if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah, very, very strange floor plan. They're asking $639,900. I mean, we were talking about it last week. This may be a situation where you kind of just have to hold on to that price for the right buyer to come along, as opposed to just dropping and dropping and dropping, because you may just be giving money away.
Yeah, you're just dropping for people that are never going to want it anyways. And that's the hard thing to do in real estate, is to hold tight and just wait, because there's a limited pool of buyers for certain properties. And, you know, that you get to the ultra luxury side of things, right? The ultra luxury, the high priced condos, or, you know, I have a friend that has something coming up in Worcester Mercer that's going to be like 1.4 million. And it's like, all right, yeah, the price per square foot looks good, but it's a reduced buyer pool. So it's going to take a little bit longer, you know, and these are the conversations that we have to have with sellers. And it's like, you know, first floor units going to take a little longer historically. You know, houses that, you know, have quirky things about them or they're not redone, these are going to take longer. And so it's important that you let your clients know and do the things that you need to do to sell the property to make it look good.
So this specific owner who bought Unit 211 at ARC 3409, when they bought it, okay, so it was on the market July of 2019 and then removed from the market October 2019, right? So they had 4 months they tried to sell it. Then they put it back on the market June of 2020 and eventually sold it July of 2020. So there were essentially almost 5 months that it took to sell. Do you think when they bought it, they looked at that history and were like, oh man, if it took them 5 months to sell, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to love this place. I'm going to live here. But when it comes for my turn to sell it, it might take another 5 months.
Yeah, I bet you they didn't look. And that's the thing, is that's what we as, you know, good local real estate agents should be looking at and saying, oh, what was the property history of this? And a lot of times people don't look at that. And if it did take a long time to sell, you know, it's going to take a long time again. And this is a conversation that I had with clients before, was like, they wanted to buy on a main street, like a busy street. And I'm like, listen, look how long it's been on the market. Think about the noise, think about the traffic. It's going to weigh on you. And in short, you know, you're going to get less. All the other properties are going to gain value and you're not. You're going to gain a lot slower pace. So you have to be wary of that and think, is this the right investment? If you're looking for something cheap that you can afford, okay, and that's all you can afford, great. That's the thing. But if you can afford a little bit more, stretch yourself to get there, you know, within means, and buy the property that is not on the main road or doesn't have these weird things, because it's just going to be difficult to sell it again. And so that's probably the same thing that's happening here. They're like, well, we can rent these places out because it's a good rental. You know, rental is a different thing, and the rentals are getting high price per square foot. But do you want to do a hotel to condo or a hotel to apartment conversion? No. You want to keep it in its current state. If you try to sell these things, you're facing Route 50. It's a bad location. You're not going to get a good price per square foot. It's going to be a nightmare. Keep it as it is. That's my
A
opinion.
question I get asked a lot are, why are all the new projects apartments? Why aren't they condos? What are your thoughts on why all the new places are apartments?
Yeah, because you can hold on to these things, and the prices for these. Think about if you're an owner of a property, you buy a property, and you're paying your mortgage, and like this house that I bought in 2020, right? It's now worth a lot more than I bought it for. My payment has stayed the same. With these condo conversions or these, why would a builder go apartment? Well, they're holding on to the whole property. And as developers sell these things off, it's harder and harder to sell because you're selling 200 all at once. So it's going to take a long time to do that. Why not?
If it's a condo.
If it's
you're
a condo.
200 individual
units, you're flooding the market with product. And what the developers do is they'll say only these ones are for sale. Only put so many on the MLS. But that's going to take a year, 2 years in this market to sell the whole building. Whereas the rental side of things, these rental values keep going up. And I was talking to one of the local, one of my clients that I just sold a property for, and she has a family that owns a lot of these properties in the area, and she rents out, and she watches these rental values all the time. Sorry. Okay. Historically, these values have gone up and up and up. And so you own a property that you just built, and you rent it out. And then the next year, the people are going to move out. You're going to get more rent. You're going to get more rent and more rent. Then you can sell that property for more than you bought it for and built it for in 4 years to a big company, a big corporation, all at once for a big one-time profit instead of these little minute things over and over again. You get a sales group. It takes a long time, and so you can get it rented out, and then you're kind of cash flow positive, hopefully on that, and you're running cash flow positive that whole time until you sell it at a higher value. It makes more sense. It makes more financial sense than to do these small condo conversions or, things like that.
So let's move on to the next article. This comes to us from the Washington Business Journal. Shawn, this one kind of concerns me, okay? Velocis, a developer, sells Rosslyn office tower for $28 million, which is less than half of its 2020 price, okay?
Wow.
So Velocis, a Dallas-based private equity real estate manager, not a developer, real estate manager, sold the 175,000 square foot 1530 Wilson Boulevard Thursday for $28 million. Sale price comes in about $11 million less than its property value. The 10-story office building is 78% leased, by people like Blue Origin and other companies, but they did buy it for what is it, $71 million in 2020. So bought for $71 million, sold for $28 million. This is concerning, Shawn. I do not like this.
No.
It's not really. I mean, how surprising is this? Because there have been a handful of Rosslyn office buildings that have traded for pennies on the dollar of what they were purchased for, and this is like the tail end of the COVID office. I would like to think that this is the bottom. We've hit the bottom, and I mean, if you're guessing if you've hit the bottom or not, maybe you haven't hit the bottom, but it is startling. It is shocking when these properties sell for this little of an amount compared to what they bought it for just 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this is the side of things we don't see much as far as the commercial side. We don't pay attention to the commercial side, but we knew this was going to happen. We knew it was happening because COVID crushed everything. Timing is everything in this stuff. You never know what's going to happen. It can be catastrophic to your values of your homes. It could be catastrophic to your business values. And this is exactly what happened. COVID hit. Everybody stopped going to the office. We weren't allowed to go into the office, and then people got used to staying at home, working from home, and people realized, hey, I can do this from home. This is our internet strong enough. We can all log into different security systems and we'll be fine. So it destroyed commercial values. And we're going to continue to see that. Now, I think that there's a hybrid work out there that people want to get out of their house. I don't think a lot of people want to stay at home, but people do want that flexibility. So it's unfortunate for these people that they bought it right at the very wrong time. And now they're probably selling it right at the very wrong time.
What do you think this building was listed for? Do you think it was on CoStar or whatever the commercial real estate platform is, like listed for $70 million and they came in with like $10 million and then eventually got up to 22? I don't know if that's how it goes. But the reality is no one wants office buildings, right? That's what it comes down to. Nobody wants office buildings. So what's the play here?
Some people do want office buildings, but at really low prices, and they're getting them. And think about how good that portfolio could be in 5-10 years when things change. You don't know how it's going to change. They could be sitting on a completely empty building in 5 years. They're taking a risk. And that's the thing is that's when you, as an investor, you take that risk and that's when you're going to win big or you could lose big. Who's got the,
Well, you buy when no one else wants to buy.
That's it.
Now, I think there's two different plays by the real estate private equity manager here. I mean, the first is just to hold on to it and to flip it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you still retain some of these tenants. It's 78%, almost 80% leased, which is shocking because in Arlington, I think the office vacancy rate is still hovering around 25%, which actually makes sense because 78% leased, 25% vacancy rate. And then, of course, the second idea here is you hold on to it, and then what is happening to all office buildings in Rosslyn? They are being torn down and they are being converted into apartments. This is another one of these, 1960s high rises where I think the highest they could go was 10 stories. And so there is definitely room for, higher density on a site like this. This is right next to the Target building. So just up the hill by one. I think there's a sculpture of a man flexing, out front of the building. But
I know it. Yep.
If you have, Shawn, if you just have the $28 million just burning a hole in your pocket, I mean, invest in Rosslyn office buildings because I think this company got a really good deal.
Yeah, and you look at the investment trusts, that's what they're going after. They're going to go after these properties. And think about this. One company bought it for $78 million, and now they just sold it for 28. Let's just say those are the numbers. And they have tenants in there right now based on the value that the other person paid, right? So these tenants are locked into 10-year leases, whatever, for a high price, right? Price per square foot. And they're locked in. They have to pay for it. But what they've just secured now is that whenever they go to release it, they can actually drop the price. They can afford to drop the price because they got the building at a steal. So they can now offer all of these other properties lower than some of the other competition that has recently bought. And so that's going to be the thing. Corporations are going to sweep in. They're going to buy it at a lower value because these people can't afford it anymore. They're going to then release it out at a lower price per square foot and be able to, make money because they bought it at a low price. And that's the whole game, right? And so hopefully it works.
We'll see.
Hopefully they can entice new businesses because they're like, hey, look at this price per square foot. You can have this whole office space for it. Why not? It makes sense,
Let's move on to our next article. This comes to us from ARL now, Shawn. North Arlington home with a paranormal reputation could become historic district. Shawn, let me introduce you to a house known as Happy Nest. It's basically like Happy and Nest combined at 4120 41st Street in Arlingwood. Essentially, this house comes with ghost stories attached. The owner, Pierre-Yves Cassard, said it has had over the years a reputation of having paranormal activity. He's owned the property since 1980, and he introduced it to the Historic Affairs and Landmark Review Board and for historic designation, district designation, and it basically was approved by the county board or will win approval unanimously to be districted as a historic property. Cassard said that he's had so many tenants, air quotes, very much down-to-earth people have reported unusual occurrence. The owner's actually never resided in the home himself.
Yeah.
But he's
like, I ain't living there.
Yeah, but he's rented it out for decades. Now, it actually has some interesting lore behind it, if you will. 1932, the vacant lot was sold to the original owners who built a home. Unfortunately for one of the owners, he ended up passing away. Shawn, in 1946, he fell off the home's roof and died. Okay, and then the widow owned the home until 1980 when she sold it to this individual Cassard who brought it to the review board for historic affairs. So I don't know if that's the guy who is the original owner, David Ballard, the guy who fell off the ladder. I don't know if he's the one doing the haunting. What are your thoughts on ghosts and being appointed to as a historic property designation?
Yeah, I love this kind of stuff. Just hearing the stories and, wondering what people go through to, think it's haunted, right?
Do you? Because the guys never lived there.
Well, I mean, his tenants have.
It's like hearsay.
It's hearsay. So maybe you're just making this all up, but you hear from different tenants that things are happening. But a lot of times it's explainable, right? Do you ever freak yourself out about things? My kids freak themselves out about stuff all the time. Like, no, dude, it's the branch rubbing against the siding. It's not the noise, So in all likelihood, it's probably explainable. Now, I'm no paranormal guy. I used to watch the shows all the time, but I've never had any experiences like that. Yeah, I've had weird feelings going into houses for sure. You know, you definitely get some energies walking through. The thing that he did here was voluntarily said, hey, Arlington, I want to register this as a historical property. And Arlington, of course, is going to say, absolutely, please, we want a historical property. But what he has done is he bought this in 1980, probably for like 150 grand, right? Like for nothing. It's 1.5 acres. You know what you can do with 1.5 acres in that area?
Well, now you can't do anything.
Now you can't do anything, and that's the key. He could have sold this for millions. He could have possibly subdivided that lot and a quarter-acre lots, which are still pretty big for this area, and sold multiple, to developers and everything else. He could have made millions. But what he decided to do was, hey, I don't care about the money. I want this on a historical registry. And so he just reduced his value to about 1.5 million.
Do you think that's why he did it? I'm so confused on why he did it. In order to be categorized as a historic property, basically, the review board will look at 11 different criteria. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many you have to meet? You have to meet 2 out of the 11.
That's not hard, man.
The bar has never been lower. I mean, I guess it could be lower if it's just 1, but you only have to meet 2. Shawn, we could get your house on the Historic Landmark Review Board Committee, whatever.
No, thank you.
Why are we doing this?
I don't know.
This house doesn't seem to have any sort of historical significance. I think we need to be careful on what properties we're just rubber stamping historic status. Yeah. What, because some tenants 20 years ago said like they thought they saw a ghost, and now all of a sudden this is historic? I'm very concerned that this will set a precedence of random boomers just saying that their house is historic for no other reason than the next generation not being allowed to do what they want to do to the property.
Yeah, I mean, all of these that house was built in 1933. I mean, most of these houses are built in the 40s and 50s. You know, Arlington is made up of old homes that have now either been demolished or added onto. They have decent sized lots, and so what is really historic about this? It should have been a historical significance that happened at that property, like they do in Old Town, right? Old Town has so many historic properties because things actually happened there. You know, there were people that, whatever. I don't even know the history, but you know what I'm saying. That's where they should be.
There needs to be like a ledger.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so I think the original owner was like a judge in D.C. That's kind of cool. The lot originally belonged to Crandall Mackey, best known for his crusade against Vice in Rosslyn as Commonwealth attorney. That's kind of cool. That has nothing to do with the structure. That has nothing to do with the house. That has nothing to do with the property. That's just like, oh, because someone like used the house before me, now it's historic. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if that's the bar that we want to be setting.
Yeah, I think it's too low. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. But the thing is, Arlington's like, yeah, I'll take it. Right? Yeah. It's like,
And sometimes we see this with like, whenever like Jackie Kennedy has lived in a property, it's just like it's the biggest story ever. And maybe if it's like a $5 million, Georgetown row home, you're like, all right, this is a pretty cool property. But when it's like a random,
small little
Holland Hills,
Alexandria, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah,
little brick box. You're like, okay, cool. She lived here for 6 months. Who cares?
I remember talking about that on our show, and you're like, another one. Really? We're gonna put this because she lived here for 6 months. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
She brushed her teeth in the sink. Now it's historic.
Yeah.
Put it like a plaque next to the sink. It's weird. I don't know. Is this like a hot take that I have? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on historic properties, because I feel like we're setting the bar pretty low here.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of properties, maybe this should be a historic property, okay? McLean home of former Capitals star TJ Oshie sells for $9.3 million. Oshie, baby, selling his house just next to Langley High School. So they had originally listed for like 9.8, almost $10 million. They were only on the market for 73 days.
Jeez.
Now, I'm not going to begin to pretend that I'm working in the $10 million price point every single day, but the fact that you can sell a $10 million property in 2 months is incredible. I mean, the house itself is fantastic. I mean, it's like walking through Architectural Digest. TJ Oshie's wife, Lauren Oshie, she's just one of these people where like everything she touches turns to gold, in a sense that like she can do no wrong. She's got incredible interior design skills. So you walk through this house, and now I don't want to discount, Wash and Find Properties who had the listing, but I'm looking through it. I'm like, all right, how much did Lauren Oshie, have this ready and perfect and flawless? And then how much did Washington Fine Properties come in and say, okay, let's stage the bookshelf?
Yeah, exactly.
Shawn, do you ever have those clients where they're just so perfect where you kind of almost have to make up things for them to do so that they know that you're doing something?
Yeah, exactly. I've walked into a few and they're like, what do I have to do? And I'm like, honestly, you don't have to do anything. This is perfect. It's, a majority, I'm doing a lot, majority, I'm doing a lot to get it ready. But there are instances where you just walk through and people have the sense, right? They know they want their property to look good. Maybe they don't have kids to ruin it. You know what I mean? That's another thing.
Well, they got kids.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's rare that you get through that, but these high-end properties, they have to look good. And usually those owners, when they're buying $10 million, they have the money to make it look amazing. And so that's the difference. But to sell it in 90 some days, 73 days, you said?
73 days.
2.5 months. That's insane. Yeah, I love that. And this is an 11,000 square foot house with a pool, and it sold for 9.3. It's like $785 a square foot or something like that, or $800 a square foot, which is pretty good. That's what, I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty good price per square foot. So, but 11,000 square feet.
11,000 square feet.
That's this house times 2.5, or
your house times 2.5.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I think there's one person who's maybe happy but also jealous. Like, you can be both. Oshie's neighbor, Nicholas Backstrom, his house is still on the market. It's priced at $12 million. Okay, so $11,995. Originally listed for $15 million in April. It's been on the market for 133 days. Now this one is 17,000 square feet.
Guys,
so
man,
if you thought 11,000 was like, okay, that's a little bit excessive. 17,000 square feet, 7 beds, 12 baths, which, by the way, if you click the baths on Zillow, it'll actually show you how it breaks down between full and half. I didn't know that. So 7 full, 5 half. Hopefully now that TJ's under contract and sold, we can get Backy under contract and sold. So, Shawn, let's shake the tree a little bit for our $12 million clients and
anybody
see
watching,
what we can do.
We will show you the property anytime. Just let us know.
Now, if you can't afford the $12 million property, Shawn, we got a better one for you. We have a $460,000 2-bedroom at the Wharf. Shawn, this is a waterfront property, 2-bedroom for not $4.6 million, $460,000. Now, it's not only waterfront, it's on the water, okay? It's in the water. It's a houseboat, Shawn. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 819 square feet, little small houseboat that is for sale, and it's gotten all of the clicks on Zillow. It's completely renovated, offered for sale for the first time in over 27 years. Water views like this are selling for over $800,000 at the Wharf proper, like, the condo buildings. But this is your chance to live your houseboat dream at the Wharf. Shawn, what are your thoughts as you're looking through some of these pictures? I don't know. It looks kind of nice.
What do you think my thoughts are?
That you would never want to do this?
No, 100%.
But you love
I love this.
You have a boat. You love boats, and you love the water. What am I missing here?
I would love to do this. I think this is an amazing opportunity. I love different stuff like this.
You do like this?
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I would totally, I think that the $400 and some $1,000 for this, it's so unique. It's so cool. Why wouldn't you take the opportunity? And it's been on for a while. I mean, I get it because it's a unique pool of buyers, right? You're going for something unique. There's only so many people that are going to buy something like this, like me, because I love stuff like this. I love being on the water. I love being able to go out on my balcony and just this is cool. It's just cool. So I think it could be a good rental. I don't know what the rental policies are there.
You can't rent it.
Can't rent it. All right, so you got to live in there.
Well, short-term rentals are not allowed at
Correct.
the Wharf. So I think you'd be hard-pressed to rent it out long-term.
Yeah, long-term. So, okay, so you got to live in it, and it's 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So you're only 1 bathroom. That's the downside. And how functional is that bathroom? I don't know. How good is the water pressure? I don't know. Those are the things that you got to start looking at in that. And do you feel the waves? Are you bouncing around? Is it that, or is it pretty stable? And that's, other than that, though,
probably pretty stable.
I would think it's pretty stable. You're not going to get huge waves, especially inside the Wharf in that area. But still, just a cool opportunity. I love seeing things like that. I'd love to go see it. If you see it.
I mean, it says appointment only, and you got to call and you got to meet someone there. I don't want to waste someone's time if I'm just kind of looky-looing.
Yeah.
They say that there are many financing options for a vessel of this type. Pun intended, probably. Typical note terms are 15 to 20 years. Now, Shawn, here is the kicker. The HOA fees are $16.27 per month, and so your monthly all in would probably be closer to like $4,300, maybe not including utilities. And so I think that means you're closer to like a $650,000 property range on like a monthly basis.
That's the tough thing with any condo, any co-op out there like this. The fees are getting high, and you have to look at your price per square foot value in what you're paying compared to a single family or whatever else you could afford. You know, I look at condos at the beach or something, right? And for me, like just looking, I'm like, all right, well, why would I buy that when I can buy a single family for a little bit more, but I'm not paying a monthly fee. And so there is benefits to condo living. There's also detriments to condo living. And whether you're looking for value or convenience, those are things that you've got to weigh.
I mean, I know it says no short-term rentals. I'd love to stay here for a weekend. Love to do it.
I would love it.
Love to check it out.
That thing would rent like crazy.
I would pay a premium. Yeah. Why no short-term rentals? Why? I mean, that could boost this property's value by so much if they just allowed that. I mean, I'm sure they have good reason, but that could be an opportunity. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would you ever buy a houseboat? Would you ever live in a houseboat, even just for a weekend? I think in like Seattle, they have a lot of houseboats.
Yep,
so
talked about those
as well.
San Francisco area. Yep.
Yeah. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this conversation. For Shawn and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.